CCM in the lab doing lab samples. And then
Where was that at?
Anaconda, yeah, Anaconda Smelters. And then they went on strike, so I went back to work for the railroad. No, I went back to work for the highway department then. Then I went to Virginia City, down to Virginia City Hill. And then in the winter we went to down the road up on Monida and located the interstate that's there now. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah, 42 below zero. And the year we were in I hope I'm doing it was 62 below zero for 3 straight days.
Huh.
Snow 25 feet deep.
When did you leave the highway department for the railroad?
May the 19th. I went to work again in the railroad, May the 19th, 1956.
And then what were you doing?
Substation operator.
And which substation?
I broke in at Morale Substation across from Warmson. Then I worked relief the other 14 substations wherever they needed me for years. And you relieved substation rate had 8 days off, some of them, and some of them had 4 days. So 2 or 3 times a year you had 8 days off in a row. So I'd be there, and there was 2 and 3 operators at different stations.
So was the Morel substation plus 14, or was that one of the 14?
That's one of the 14.
Okay.
Yeah, Morel was, yes.
Yeah. So what was the daily routine like in a typical Milwaukee substation?
Well, just cleaning and maintenance work, and then some repairing and servicing switches, 2300 volt switches, and cleaning and working, taking your own clearance. You took your clearance and done your own work.
What do you mean you took your clearance?
For safety, you know, that it wasn't a voltage. That's just like, yeah, you had to take clearance, so for safety reasons, you know, you had to de-energize it. You couldn't work on, you know, the hot was 2300 volts, or 4400 on the signal feeder and 3400 volts on the trolley. If you worked and cleaned the switchboard, you had to clear it from the main trolley and put your grounds on it and everything else to make it safe to work on. So.
Did anybody ever get hurt doing that?
Oh yeah, there's a few guys got hurt, yeah.
So can you explain for me how that worked? You had a high tension line coming in.
Yeah, they had a 110,000 volt line. It belonged to the Milwaukee Railroad from 2 Montana to Avery, Idaho.
So it wasn't a Montana power line?
No, Montana Power wheeled power over that line.
So they used it for their purposes?
Yeah, they used it for a purpose, yeah.
So who controlled the line?
Well, we had to go through them to open it, but we controlled it, yeah. It was our maintenance and everything.
So they had to let you know they wanted to use it, you had to give them permission?
Well, they had a contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a contract. Yeah.
So it was 110,000.
110,000.
And so it came in from, you say 2 dot?
Well, the line was 2 dot to Mazzini, but they fed it like Corette and all of those on the power company did. And we wheeled power for them over that line to take out like in Deer Lodge and here and everything. All of that, those steel lines across there was original there, and then the ones that we had ran along with the railroad.
Okay, I just want to I'll make sure I understand this. So is there 2 lines running along that railroad, 2 high tension lines?
Just one.
Just one.
Whoever they belonged to Milwaukee.
And that belonged to Milwaukee, but
yeah.
Montana Power did not have one going along there either. Okay.
Well, I can't say that because we had them where they tied into our substation, different lines from other places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they interconnected, and then they could
just like at Crow Creek out of Thompson Falls to East Portal substation. That tied into it. They had 2 lines. They had an A and B line that came in. So if one went out, they could open, or they wanted to do maintenance on it, they could open and wheel power over to the other one. That came through the Milwaukee Railroad transmission lines east.
So Milwaukee made a little bit of money from just Wheeling Power.
Well, they gave us a rate of, our pay for kilowatt hour was less, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
I think it was 0.0535 per kilowatt for power and 1 cent more for signals on it. So for it, and I think the roundhouses were 2 cents.
That's for your equipment inside the roundhouse?
Yeah, all equipment in roundhouse. Even in Deer Lodge is the only power in the city of Deer Lodge belonged to the Milwaukee Railroad. Montana Power did not have a line to Deer Lodge.
So the city lights were through Milwaukee?
Well, they came off of Milwaukee. They had a substation there, the power company did, but the line from there belonged to the roundhouse, belonged to the Milwaukee Railroad.
But like if a person had a house in Deer Lodge, they bought it from power from Milwaukee?
No, they bought from the power company.
Oh.
They wheeled power. They
I see.
wheeled power over the line.
Yeah. So that 110 is it kilowatt? But
1,000.
110 what? 110,000 volts.
Yeah.
That wasn't totally being used by the Milwaukee Railroad. How much? What portion of that do you think the Milwaukee used?
I don't know. Towards the end, it got less. I think that if I remember right, the power bills used to run between $40,000 and $60,000 a month for the Milwaukee Railroad.
Yeah.
That's all the switch engines and the locomotives and the signal feeders and the roundhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a chance that that high tension line was also useful for moving bulk power to other places besides serving Milwaukee.
Oh yeah, the power companies served. Yeah, they served. Well, just like Superior and all those along the line, they served off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Regis and everywhere. Yeah.
so you had the 110,000 volt line coming along there, and it would parallel the railroad, but it'd be some distance. It varied in distance.
Well, it went over the top and both. Originally, all that line went over the top of the substations, but the power company years ago changed that and helped the Milwaukee Railroad and the power company and got it off of the roof of the substations, except East Portal, Drexel, and Avery, where there's a lot of snow, didn't change it. They got hip roofs instead of flat roofs, those substations did.
So why did they get it off the roofs?
Well, for safety more than anything else, you know. Yeah, they just went across it and then they put disconnects on both sides of stuff, or oil switches that were switched from with controls in the substation, switched to 100,000 volt oil switches, and then you had to check the disconnects open if they had a clearance on that section of the line.
So you had, how many lines came off that high tension line down into each substation? How many wires?
Well, there's 3-phase, so there's only 3. It comes in, you have to come in and went down to the bus work and go through the substation. But then when they changed it, like East Portal and that, it still came through the substation, you know, with a kind of snow. And then the other stations, they built it across the roof, and they just tapped it and come into the substations.
So 3 wires with 3-phase current came down.
3-phase, 110.
Alternating current
Yeah,
came down.
110,000.
And then what happened inside the substation?
Well, it went into a transformer, the transformer to 2,300 volts.
Was that direct current or?
The AC. No.
The AC to
The
23.
trolley is the only thing that's dropped there.
Okay, so you're still at AC, 2,300 volts, then what
Yeah.
happened?
Then they ran a synchronous motor off the 2,300 that had 2 generators hooked in series, 1,500 volts piece, and they closed the air gap in 49, I think it was, and jacked the voltage up to 3,400 on the trolley. And,
So it came out, it ran the AC ran the synchronous motors, and then those turned it into DC for the trolley?
yeah, well, they run generators. Yeah.
Oh, the motors ran the generator, okay. I got
Yeah,
it. All
yeah,
right.
motors run the generator.
So it was a motor generator in there, okay.
Yeah, it's well, I don't know. I can show it's in here or in there. Oh, I don't have those pictures.
Were those pretty reliable pieces of equipment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were reliable. It's in here. That's a set of blueprints for the automatics, when they made them automatic. There's a switchboard.
Let's see. This is the switchboard inside the.
That's a DC switchboard.
Okay.
Some of it's got 4400 AC on it, not there, on the signal feeder. Yeah.
What's that manual you're looking at?
Yes,
Yeah.
instruction manual on the substations.
So that I noticed they have the blueprints for the Lowett station over in Bozeman at the archive, so they probably have that instruction manual with it too.
I don't know if they do or not. Wait, I know there's one here. Now there's a selector switch there, that's 2300 volts. And that, but it's number one and number two transformer, so when you start the motor, you had to transfer, if you're going to start number one, you had to transfer it to number two because it would blink all the lights. You know, it would blink everything. So that's 2300 volts there, that section.
Let me see that. So it's just like a transfer switch outside a person's house.
Well, yeah, you transferred it to the 2300 side, yeah.